Santa María, Madre del Cielo, santificado Santa María, Madre de Dios.
So here you see dos Rosas de Jericó. Rosa de Jericó are known as the Jericho rose. They're also known as the resurrection plant. Very popular in Hispanic cultures, in espiritismo, brujería, and a lot of Christian mysticism. So I'm going to show you how I bless it and pray over it and bring it to life. So what you're going to need is a Rosa de Jerico. These are small and they come in various sizes. This is a small size. And what you're also going to need is some form of glass plate or a crystal plate. I'm going to use a candle, a white candle, and I have a jarro with water. It could be tap water, or if you want, you can also use holy water. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to light my white candle. So traditionally, the days that we use to add water to our Rose of Jericho is either Tuesdays or Fridays. I like to, right now, this is facing an Eastern window, and it's 12 o'clock midnight. You can do it any time you want. I'm just doing it at 12 o'clock midnight. I have my candle lit. And what you want to do is you want to place your Rosa de Jerico. You see where it opens right there? You want to make sure that this part is in the bottom, like so. And you can use holy water or tap water. I'm just going to put the tap water in. You don't want to put too much. And you're just going to wait until it opens up. So many people also like to place water on the resurrection plant or the Rose of Jericho, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is fine. I'm doing it at 12 midnight. There are many legends that are associated with La Rosa de Jericho or the resurrection plant. One Christian mythology says that the Rose of Jericho flourished during the 33 years that Jesus Christ walked on the earth. And on the day that he was crucified, the Rose of Jericho or the resurrection plant withered up, dried, and it seemed like it died. It is said that when Jesus resurrected 3 days later, the plant flourished and came back to life. So that is why a lot of people also call it the resurrection plant, because of that mythology. Another legend says, if you can see it starting to open, another legend says that when Jesus was in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, he quenched, he had thirst. And God ordered the angels of the four winds to blow this tumbleweed. Wherever Jesus walked, this tumbleweed would follow. And in the mornings, this tumbleweed would gather the morning dew, the water from the air, and it would open up. And Jesus was able to quench his thirst by placing his finger into the plant and quenching his thirst. And that's how Jesus survived the 40 days in the desert, because of the miraculous powers of La Rosa de Jerico. So the Rose of Jericho is also known as the Rose of the Virgin, Miriam's flower, Mary's rose, Holy Night rose, and La Rosa Maria. Often is used in Christmas Day as a symbol of the opening of the womb of Mary before the birth of Jesus, or the Christ child. Also, legend says that it was a plant Mary blessed during her and Joseph's flight into Egypt. The flight into Egypt is a story recounted in the Gospels of Matthew in the New Testament, where it says that soon after the visit of the three magi, an angel appeared to Joseph in a dream, telling him to flee to Egypt with Mary and the new infant child, Jesus, because King Herod would seek out the Christ child to kill him. You can see it is opening up right now. In Santeria tradition, the Jericho rose, or la Rosa de Jericho, is associated with the Orisha Chango, or Shango. And often a Rosa de Jericho is left for Shango. Shango is the Orisha of thunder and lightning. So often la Rosa de Jericho is placed as an offering and it is sacred to Shango. So as you see, the Jericho rose is awakening, and this plant contains a very powerful desert spirit that should be treated with great respect, and it is never used for evil or for harming others, but as a talisman for abundance, prosperity, peace in the home. It protects from negative energies, negative vibrations. It repels negative spirits. It's good against the evil eye. It bestows luck. It's used for safe travels, for a safe birth, used for protection of children. If you're using it for protection of children, make sure you keep it away from the reach of children. You don't want children to tamper with it or to disrespect this La Rosa de Jericho. Now, before I go any further, I'm sure there are people who are going to say, wait a second, is this a true Jericho rose or a false Jericho rose? Well, there are two specimens of Jericho rose. The true rose of Jericho is known as the Anastasia hierochuntica, and I'll put the name right there, or the scientific name, and is native to Western Asia. Then we have the false Jericho rose, which is right here. This is the one that we're using, and that's the one that we use mostly in the United States. This one's known as the false Jericho rose or the resurrection fern, and it is known as the, and I'm going to butcher this name, the Selagineja lepidophilia, and I'll put the name down there, and is a native to Chihuahua, the Chihuahua Desert of the United States, and is the one that we use most in the United States. But they both have the same spiritual or magical properties. Okay, so this one is still opening up. Now here is another bowl. I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's dried up. This is what it looks like, of course, when it's dried up, and you see it's opening up. I'm going to place this aside carefully, and I'm going to open this one as well. And I have this crystal bowl that I always have had for my Rose of Jericho. And I'm just going to place this one aside. And I want to bless this one as well. I want to show you. It's a beautiful crystal bowl because it shows it kind of like opens up like a flower. Okay. So I'm just going to place that there and get my Rosa de Jericho. I wanted to state that because I know that people are going to comment, and so I wanted to add that to the video. And I'm just going to pour the water and let this one open as well. Of course, you don't want that much water in your Rosa de Jericho. And I'm going to let this one open up. This one is almost fully open. Now, I just want to add that in Hispanic cultures, it is believed that women during menstruation should not work La Rosa de Jericho, but they should, before menstruation, should take it out of the water and let it dry up completely. Now, it's not saying that menstruation is anything bad. In fact, it's not. Motherhood is a divine emotion and a unique experience in the life of a woman. Menstruation, conception, and motherhood are the creative aspects of procreation. So you want to make sure that your Rose of Jericho is pure, it's clean, and so you do not work the Rose of Jericho during menstruation, but it's best to let it completely dry out. So the Rose of Jericho is a talisman used in various health disorders like menstrual cramps, for infertility problems, and to ease childbirth by bringing down the pain. So often the Jericho rose is placed under the bed of a woman who is giving birth, or by a window or next to the bed where the woman is giving birth, to help ease the pain of child labor. So now you see both the Rosa de Jericho. Here's the first one. And this one is the other one. It's a little bit smaller in the bigger bowl. Now I'm going to pray over it to awaken the spirit of La Rosa de Jericho. It is already woken, but I'm going to pray to it to greet it. And I'm going to use a traditional Spanish prayer. And it is, I'm going to translate it in English. It is Divina Rosa de Jericho, or Divine Rose of Jericho, for the blessings that from our Lord Jesus Christ you have received, for the virtues that you enclose, and for the power bestowed upon you from God. Help me overcome the difficulties of my life. Give me health, strength, happiness, tranquility, and peace in my home, luck in my business, and the ability to work and earn my keep, to cover my needs of my well-being and those of my home and my family. Divina Rosa de Jericho, all this I ask of you for the virtues that you enclose in love to Christ Jesus and his great divine mercy. Amen. Now that the Rose of Jericho is cleansed, purified, and awakened, the water is holy and sacred. As long as the water is not foul-smelling or bad, you can use this water, a little bit of this water, to purify the house, sprinkle around the house. You could add this to a mop water, cleanse your windows, okay? You could add this to your spiritual baths. Just make sure that the water is fresh. The Rose of Jericho should be changed once a week. Now, you can also make this or have it to be a talisman for other things. Let's say you want to attract money. Then, of course, you could add coins to it. I'm going to add 5 pennies just to attract business and luck or money. You want to attract that. If you want general protection of the home, you could add a quartz crystal. You don't have to, but I'm going to add a quartz crystal just for protection. If your Rosa de Jericho is for love in the family, unity, love with your relationship, you could add a rose quartz to your Rosa de Jericho. And also, if you want healing, health, you can add an amethyst. Okay? You don't have to, but you can add that to your Rosa de Jericho and keep this in a place where it will not be disturbed by animals. Keep away from your pets, dogs, cats. Please keep this away from your dogs and cats. And you have a talisman for protection. Please change the water once a week, and you can let the Rose of Jericho dry out every so often. It's recommended. But whenever you need that luck, that blessing, that prosperity in your home, or you want the doors to open for you, place it into this cup. Also, keep it away from direct sunlight. Place it on top of a refrigerator, but do not, or place it by the front of the door, but do not place this near or where it will get direct sunlight. That will cause mold in the water. So right here, you will see a completely opened Rosa de Jericho. Now, if you practice Espiritismo, or if you're an espiritista and you have a Romani, Gitano, or Gitana guide, Gitano or Gitana are Gypsy. And you will see that many espiritistas do have Gitano guides or Gitana. Then often you will see that they place La Rosa de Jericho, or the resurrection plant, the Rose of Jericho, by their Gitano guide. Now this goes into a lot of, this is based on a lot of Gitano mythology or folklore, and I want to share them with you today. One legend says that a gypsy blacksmith by the name of Renzo made the nails to crucify Jesus Christ. And for this deed, like the Rose of Jericho, El Gitano Renzo and his kin were condemned to wander the earth and never settle. But there are other folklores or other legends that say that the gypsy blacksmith, El Gitano Renzo, and that's what I'm going to call him here, El Gitano Renzo, was ordered to forge 4 nails for Jesus' crucifixion. 1 nail for each hand, 1 for his feet, and 1 to stab Jesus in the heart. El Gitano Renzo was moved by Jesus' teachings that he could only find it in his heart to forge 3 nails. Prior before the crucifixion, El Gitano Renzo and his gypsy wife Anastasia tried to steal the 3 nails and were whipped away by a Roman guard. The Virgin Mary witnessed this act of kindness and blessed the gypsy and his wife and all their people, and gave El Gitano Renzo la Rosa de Jericho, or the Rose of Jericho. Now, after the crucifixion, when Jesus was placed in the tomb, El Gitano Renzo, with his wife, sneaked to the tomb. Anastasia, la gitana Anastasia, kissed the dried weed, and 3 tears fell on it, and they placed the Rose of Jericho at the entrance of the tomb. So you will see that in Espiritismo, many times, those who honor their gitanos, or they have a gypsy spirit, they will place a Rosa de Jericho by their gitanos. So here you see the Rose of Jericho full in bloom. And it is a talisman that I bring out occasionally when I need just more spiritual help to bring some blessings, abundance. You could add charms to it. I don't place nothing into my Rose of Jericho. I've seen a lot of people placing lodestones, Florida water. I don't put nothing of that, just water and the plant and my prayers and intention. And then after I finish using it, I let it dry until I need it again. Here are just other charms that I'm going to place here next to the Rose of Jericho. Now, I'm also going to show you during this time how the plant shrivels up and dries. But I'm going to end the video with a story, just so that the video makes sense. And it goes, after Joseph dreamt with the angel, he told Mary to pack all their belongings as they were heading to Egypt. She gathered the 3 gifts the 3 archmaguses had given the Christ child and placed them on sacks. And Joseph saddled them up onto the donkey. The 3 gifts were gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and had many spiritual symbolisms. Gold, a symbol of kingship on earth, frankincense, a symbol of the deity, and myrrh as a symbol of death, or gold as a symbol to a king, myrrh as to the one who was mortal, and incense as to God. But Mary understood that the gifts as gold symbolized Christ child would be a king like his ancestor David, incense that her son would be like the priest, his ancestor Melchizedek, and the myrrh that he would be a prophet like his ancestor Moses. So they gathered the 3 gifts and food and water for the dangerous cross of the desert from Bethlehem into Egypt. They traveled the hot desert for safety from King Herod to Egypt, where they would find safety. After a few days, they came across a desert cave, and within the cave was an old wise sage and his ailing daughter. The wise sage asked Mary and Joseph why they were making that dangerous cross through the desert. After Joseph had told the wise sage about the birth of his child, or the birth of the Christ child in the stable of Bethlehem, and the gifts of the 3 maguses, and of course the angel warning of King Herod, the wise sage said he also wanted to give the babe a gift. And so he reached for a handful of withered tumbleweed behind him. This is the Rose of Jericho, a very powerful magical plant which got its name from the city of Jericho, which lies as an oasis in the middle of a desert of stones. Jericho is fertile and gives life to many. If you give a magical Jericho rose as a talisman, you can be assured that the receiver of the plant will receive the same blessings of the rose. The wise sage went on to tell them that the rose comes back to life with the slightest water and never dies. And like a desert weed, it does not need to be rooted to the ground and will travel far, bestowing its blessings. Mary took the dried, lifeless, withered shrub and thought to herself, so life-affirming, it never dies, it brings life. Like the symbolisms of the 3 gifts of the 3 maguses, the weed would give hope of another day, of life to all those who needed it. And that like the lotus flower, which symbolizes purity, faithfulness, and spiritual awakening, and grows in muddy waters. The Rose of Jericho would symbolize that her son would be the beautiful desert flower that grows in lifeless, barren areas, and many would ignore and pass it by, while others more spiritually awoke would see its beauty and be drawn to it. My son, she thought to herself, would see what others did not see, what others passed by. He would be the rose that people would be drawn to. He would never die, but bring eternity into time. Mary then looked around the cave and saw the ailing child in the corner of the cave. The wise old sage told her that that was his precious daughter, who was ailing and dying, and that none of his magic or healing charms or knowledge could heal her, and that she would soon die. So Mary felt bad and went to her with the Christ child, and one tear fell from her eyes and touched the ailing girl. Suddenly, the girl began to move in her bed and stood up. I feel much better, Father, the girl said happily. The wise old sage knelt down with tears covering his cheeks and said, I know that my daughter will be healed. Just like the water brings life to the Rose of Jericho, so will prayers of tears and joy make the boy give life to those who need it. The four gifts were now a symbol of the four corners of the world, the passings of the four seasons, and the four elements. Gold would symbolize fire, myrrh would symbolize earth, frankincense would symbolize air, and now the Jericho rose would symbolize water. And Mary blessed the Rose of Jericho as a powerful spiritual talisman of reincarnation, resurrection, and health in times of trials and tribulations. After a night's rest, a star guided Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus into Egypt. And the Rose of Jericho followed Jesus in the desert later, after his crucifixion, when Mary gave it to the Gypsies. It went into the tomb where the waters of the tears of the Gypsy woman touched the lifeless body of Jesus' lips and resurrected the perispirit into la materia. And so you see that the Rose of Jericho has a lot of spiritual and magical symbolisms within Greco-Christian Coptic magic and spirituality, and it has a spirit that should be treated with much respect. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, please subscribe, please leave your comments down below, and Santo Sanse, Sancista Brujo Luis.